Kenda, you say something really compelling. You talk about not wanting youth to confuse their emotional high with actually kind of this God moving toward them. What's at stake? Like, what is the danger in youth thinking their emotional high is God?
Well, first of all, it would be a really natural thing to confuse those things. We all confuse those things. But what I would worry about, I think, not just with youth, but is the inevitable disappointment. The disappointment when it turns out that, oh, wait a minute, my God isn't a feeling. There's a point at which I can't manufacture these feelings anymore. I'm not in a place where I feel good, and therefore I can't feel God. You know, that's a risk. And it's a very common thing for young people to equate feeling good with feeling God. That's a very, very common equation. And of course, then the dark night of the soul comes upon them, and the most natural thing in the world is to assume that God has abandoned ship. And I also think that it's a very short step as to, it kind of makes God whatever I want God to be. So God becomes me, you know? Whatever I think God is, that's what God is. But there are times God challenges us too.
Right.
And God has to confront us with things that are not necessarily comfortable for us. And so when we make God into our own image, we always risk, you know, avoiding confronting those parts of our sinful selves that need to have God call us out. And those are not just problems with young people. Obviously, these are problems with all of us who are just limited human beings. But it's this is what makes, there are many traditions that are nervous about anything that has to do with looking at human experience as a form of revelation. Now, I'm a United Methodist. We're fine with human experience being a form of revelation, but this is the limits of it. And even John Wesley was nervous about this, and he was like, you know, you don't want human experience to be, you know, equated with God, because, you know, sometimes it's just indigestion. You know, sometimes, you know, that feeling in your stomach. Sometimes that's not God. Sometimes that's just, you know, you're having, you ate something bad. And that's true. You know, we don't want to just make that a simple equation. So the point, I think part of what we forget to teach young people is that, you know, God's creativity and how God comes to us is endlessly creative.
That's right.
Moses only got a burning bush once, right? God might come to you through your stomach once, but, you know, God might come to you through some crotchety neighbor the next time, or in us through all sorts of other circumstances. God is not limited to our human emotional makeup as a way of confronting us. And when we equate God with a feeling, we have limited God into a very small space. So there are all sorts of reasons why that's I think it's a recipe for a very slippery slope, I guess, theologically, practically, and just in terms of a setup for disappointment.